Welcome back to our studios and our coverage to the 8th National Youth Conference, which is held in Al Manara Conference Center in Cairo. And today, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurated the 8th National Youth Conference and participated in the first session of this conference, which is held under the slogan "Experience of combating terrorism locally and regionally." The conference started with a documentary on the file of supporting young people in Egypt. It showed empowering young people was one of the most important priorities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi since he took office. It also added that the president launched the Presidential Leadership Program for Empowering Youth and held the first youth conference for holding dialogue between the president and young people. Another documentary was screened about terrorism threats. It showed that in 2018 the world lost $60 billion because of terrorism. Regardless of its many forms, terrorism has been a global threat for countries. The session was attended by the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, Parliament Speaker, as well as a number of intellectuals and a number of youth. More than 1,600 youth attending this conference, which is taking place throughout the whole day. During the first session, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, addressing attendance, said that terrorism is a global issue from which many countries are suffering, pointing out that nations would not be able to achieve progress under terrorism as the hopes and future of peoples are destroyed throughout this black terrorism or black destruction to nations. During the first session that evaluated the counter-terrorism locally and regionally, President Sisi asserted that the Egyptian state immunity must be taken for granted, noting that the state was affected temporarily after the 2011 revolution due to schemes which aimed to weaken the national state's ability and divide it into small ones. The president added that some have sought to destroy Syria and Iraq in order to destroy the East through terrorism and armed militias. The president said that the idea of terrorism wouldn't succeed unless being adopted by some countries. The head of state also said that these countries has used youth as a tool to apply terrorist plans. President Sisi noted that combating terrorism costs the state a lot, stressing that the Egyptian army is the cornerstone not only for Egypt but also for the whole region. The president also stressed that terrorism organizations rely on the latest technological means to reach their members. In addition, the president pointed that the state does not know who mainly controls terrorism on social media networks. He also reiterated that the bargaining of reach governance and destroy countries continue, but terrorism targets religion itself and not Islam. He added that terrorism is a cancer to the state. This was during the first session. During the second session, the president spoke about the social media, which is a mean to destruct the confidence between people and its leadership. This through a whole session that was moderated and in which participating spoke about the danger causes of the social media and how it became a tool that can really used to destruct confidence, to destruct the aims of nations, to infiltrate into the mindset of people, to cultivate some ideologies and thoughts that should be a first way of sedition between people and between people and the leadership. On the sidelines of this conference, our senior correspondent Tagharid Hussein was there and held an interview with Dr. Noha Bakr, professor at the AUC. Let's watch.
The 8th National Youth Conference kicks off in Cairo, this important platform of communication between the President and the youth. a very successful experience, a very professional one here in Egypt on the sidelines of the opening ceremony. We have all the honor and pleasure of having with us Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science. Professor Bakr, thank you so much for joining us here on Nile TV International exclusively. That important platform between the President and the youth, the 8th National Youth Conference, comes today as a foundation of communication and trust. And also our youth, our treasure, we're investing in them today.
First, let me thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be among you here. And yes, this is the 8th conference in addition to 2 further conferences that were on international level and 1 on regional level for African Arab youth. Yes, it's a very important platform where there are lots of sharing of ideas, thoughts. We've seen previous youth conferences where there were simulations also. All this enrich the capacity of youth in addition to exchanging ideas, views. We see today 1,600 of our youth attending, sharing their ideas. We have 3 sessions today. The first session was about terrorism and combating terrorism, not only on security level, but also through development and through changing the religious extremist narrative. We will have another session about the effect of false exchange of information through internet. Then we will have asked the President to finalize, where youth will be having a chance. Previously through internet they've sent the questions or direct questions today. I'm very glad to see our youth here. I'm very glad to see in the promo their success stories on cultural, on sports level. It's as you've mentioned, a very important platform for communication.
Yes, very important platform that started really positively by narrating stories of success of the youth of Egypt today, which is really inspirational for others also to follow suit. We saw in the different specialities, we saw Farah in music, we saw our dear youth who represented the country on more than one platform in sports. So how do you see this, Professor Noha, as inspirational for other youth to follow suit?
It's inspirational, it's simulating, and also it comes within the context of empowering youth in general. We started by our constitution, where there are very important 3 articles in the Constitution, Article 82 and Article 188 and Article 244, that empowered youth. This has resulted in 59 youth in our parliament. It has resulted in a number of youth that are now assisting the ministers and assisting the governors. All this comes within the context of also working to empower youth on health-wise. We're working on virus C. We're eliminating slums from our country. We are empowered. We have unemployment has decreased from 13% to 8%. All this is to provide youth with a better life within our agenda of 230 for development and the African agenda for development of 2063.
Yes, we're talking youth empowerment. We're also talking here youth and leadership, because when they find themselves sitting nearby decision makers, the president himself listens to them. Listening is really a key magical word at that platform.
Exactly, and it makes also youth identity, Egyptian identity. They feel that they are listened to. They feel that they share in building their nation. All these are positive vibes to others who have not been attending or who will attend in the future. We see that there are lots of efforts done to invest youth, to include them in the society. Inclusion is very important. This is all working on developing our country.
Definitely, and also a matter of awareness, raising their awareness vis-a-vis the phenomena like combating terrorism today and more. Very important to engage them also politically from the perspective of a professor of political science. How can we better engage the youth on the political sphere and raise their level of awareness?
First, what's happening from empowering their human capacity through the program that is offered to youth, through the reforms on the administrative level for those who are working, youth who are working in the government, through making their voice being heard. All this is for the best of our country, for the best. And I'd like to share also that gender issue is on the table. It's not only male. We've seen females on the panel. We've seen working on combating also violence against females. The president was very persistent on this. Sexual harassment, we were able to eradicate it, which was a very disturbing phenomena. Also, different laws to empower Egyptian women in general.
Definitely a very inspiring conference and platform today. I thank you very much, Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science, sharing with us with your positive ideas at this important platform. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science, sharing with us her ideas and positive vibes here at the 8th National Youth Forum. Stay tuned for more coming up on Nile TV.
Right, welcome back. And as we said, the first session saw a discussion on terrorism and the impact of terrorism regionally and internationally, and how Egypt has been in a fight against terrorism throughout all the past period. Also, they spoke about the challenges of confrontation of terrorism and what is needed not only regionally but also internationally. Also the terrorism and its negative effect was also discussed thoroughly. The second session also saw a very interesting discussion, which is the impact of spreading lies on the state in light of the 4-generation wars. It spoke about the dangers of using social media negatively and its impact on the society, coherence and unity, the dangers of false and fabricated lies with no reliable resources, and it also spoke about means of confronting such a negative phenomenon. I guess we have with us over the phone Dr. Raghda As-Said, lecturer. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Raghda.
Good afternoon.
We saw together the first and second sessions of the 8th Youth Conference, which is held at Al Manara. We saw definitely two important sessions of discussions on terrorism and the social media and the 4th-generation war. First, let me take your reading to the first session and terrorism, and how much Egypt was very much keen on putting the safety and security not only of Egypt but also of the whole region into its prior files.
Actually, Egypt has gone far with this terrorism, but actually still we are fighting terrorism physically and not mentally.
Yes.
Because mentally it's connected. By the way, I see that both sessions are connected to each other. Both are terrorism. This is mental terrorism and this is physical terrorism.
Yes.
So Egypt has gone far ahead with the terrorism, and it's doing its best to secure the region. The most important thing is the religious speech. This is very important. How to face this, how to change this religion speech. This is very important. We must use the weapon that the terrorists are using, which is the means of communication skills, negotiation skills, persuasive skills. They use the updated techniques to convince others with their ideas. And the other session was I think it was very, very important and effective one. It spoke about the 4G wars, including the rumors, including fake news, including fabricated videos. All these things are very important. Actually,
no, Dr. Raghda, before we go, because this is an important issue that we have to discuss point by point, but let me take here from your point of view, if you want to really discuss terrorism and its challenge and how to confront it through new methods. From your point of view, how to raise awareness of people of how to fight radical ideologies and how to be able to differentiate between what is said to them and whether or not they should be believing that.
Actually, I see that they are using certain tools in neuro-linguistic programming. They program the minds or mentalities of the youth by certain words, certain ideas, certain methods of persuasion. Like they use also Aristotle, Plato's triangle of convincing, which is ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is the ethics. They use just fake ethics. They get logos or logic. They use also some numbers and facts, which is not real numbers. They just put certain numbers to just engrave the reality inside the mentality of the people, of the youth. And then they use all this triangle to convince people to join them in their, what are they doing, in their terrorism or in their thoughts. What is happening that we do not fight with the same weapons. We do not fight with the same mentality. You know, we use religion, but we must use also interpersonal skills with religion. We must use religion with different aspects of explanation. With certain aspects.
I mean, here, we're speaking here about the interpretation of religion. The right interpretation of religion. Yes, please.
Not only the right interpretation, but also the way or the approach. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's how you approach these youth. You can tell someone, don't drink this water. But you can tell the other one, the water is really nice to drink or useful to drink more. So here, you know, it's like how you speak positively to them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. One other important issue was spoken about, and it is relevant, by the way, to how to confront terrorists, because it's part of spreading lies. And the second session saw the impact of spreading lies on the state in light of the 4-generation wars. Before I enter into spreading lies, let me take from you, for people to understand, what is the 4G or the 4-generation wars?
Okay. First of all, the wars, the known war is with two armies. Okay. First of all, the first generation was the Middle Ages. One army is attacking and the other is reflecting or is responding. The 4G wars, you don't know where is your enemy. The battlefield of the 4G wars is the social media and the media. Actually, it doesn't have a battlefield, a ground battlefield, a physical battlefield. No. It can come through a word, it can come through a mainstream, it can come through an idea, spreading ideas, spreading rumors, and also hitting ethics, hitting
morals,
principles and morals to a certain extent that whenever they just stick, everyone falls, because they are using this for years. By the way, it's the 4G war. It began in the 90s and 1989 and the 90s, beginning of the 90s with the beginning of the internet.
If we speak about dangers of such means, first of all, we're speaking about a very important danger, which is instigating sedition, inconfidence, dividing people.
Yes.
How far do you think this reflects on the coherence and the unity of the society, and how dangerous is this?
I'm sorry to say that it's affecting with a very, very high level and very easy, because it was hard in the beginning, but now it's very easy. It's through a word, a mainstream. They can redirect the mentalities of people through a fake or a fake news or fake thing happening, and they can redirect thousands and millions of people to it through a video or through influencers, actually. One of the speakers today was speaking about the influencers. This is very, very effective part when he says that if the influencers find something not with the mainstream, but they can correct it, they will not do it for not to lose their followers. And this is the addictions of the likes and shares. People lose credibility instead of losing followers and friends.
Dr. Raghda, let me here ask you a very important question. Why would people heed to lies that are spread through social media, even if they have no reliable sources? Why? What is this? What contributes to this? Is it people awareness? Is it the culture? Is it the education? What made people so vulnerable to hear more of lies and more of fabricated and false reports?
First is the monitor. Instead of the TV comes the phone. Instead of the book comes the phone. Everything is replaced by the phone. Okay, it's one tick, and you get all the news. Lately, social media has got, every one of us can be a psycho in social media. By the way, he can have a disease by social media, by sharing, by liking, by reading. Okay, so spreading this gives people or fill people's ego. I got false news. I have the first one. I'm the first one to know this news, and fake news spread faster. By the way. If you notice something, you can find that you have a fake news that has about, for example, 10,000 shares, but when you correct this news, only 10 or 20 shares, because they are, they feel pleasure in sharing these fake news, and because it makes, it is viral. It goes viral in the
exactly.
In the
it goes viral.
Yes,
exactly.
It is viral. It is viral because, everything when it goes like positive, everything is fine, you will find yourself not interested. But when you have something that has candles or lies or something, your mentality or your mind just clicks to it.
Why, Dr. Raghda, why people are so much attracted to viral or rather inaccurate information?
Of the fourth generation, of the 4G wars. This is one of the weapons. How to distract people's mentality from solid things, from principles, from ethics, to minimals. This is the issue.
And how should a state, because we're speaking here about a phenomenon that could really destroy a whole nation. How can a state really confront such an issue?
Actually, the government is doing its best for saying this is a rumor, this is not correct, this is fake news. In this session today, they got how to, I believe the video that I saw in the session, I saw a video that talking about negative things in the country. Actually, I believed it.
Yeah.
I believed it clearly, and then when he said no, it is not a real one. We made it, and it's very easy. This is very hard. They have to exceed the number of people who comes and say this is a rumor. How to face rumors? How to make sure of these rumors? If they are knowing your source, you have to know your source. Who is this source? Is he credible or not? And from where did the source get their? Actually, most of the sites get their news from social media, from people. Sometimes when I write something, I find it as a news.
Yes.
This is terrible. And
Yes.
actually, people who are trying to correct the rumors or to make the people aware or make awareness on net, they face mental terrorism. I was attacked by mental terrorism when I say something that when began speaking about the 4G wars 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Actually, I was attacked, and they said, no, she's speaking nonsense. And they
Because
kept
people are more enthusiastic in what in destructive issues and rumors more than
Exactly.
realities and truth.
They
And
find pleasure in it.
I guess that this
Unfortunately.
is an issue that we have to confront at this upcoming stage, because raising awareness has become a must. Dr.
Yes.
Raghda Said, a lecturer, we thank you so much for being with us and for your input into our coverage. Back to our studios and back to our episode, and let's watch this report on the 8th Youth Conference that is being held in Al Manara Conference Center. Let's watch.
الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية.
The National Youth Conference kicked off on Saturday under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi at Al Manara Conference Center. The conference was attended by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Defense Minister Mohammad Zaki, and Parliament Speaker Ali Abdel Al, in addition to a number of senior state officials and ministers. The conference started with a documentary on the file of supporting young people in Egypt. It showed that empowering young people was one of the most important priorities of President el-Sisi since he took office. It also added that the president launched the Presidential Leadership Program for empowering youth and held the first youth conference for holding dialogue between the president and young people. Another documentary was screened about terrorist threats. It showed that in 2018 the world lost $60 billion because of terrorism. Regardless of its many forms, terrorism has been a global threat for countries. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Saturday said that terrorism is a global issue for which many countries are suffering, pointing out that nations would not be able to achieve progress under terrorism as it destroys the future of peoples. During the first session that evaluates counter-terrorism locally and regionally, President el-Sisi asserted that the Egyptian state immunity must be taken for granted, noting that the state was affected temporarily after 2011 revolution due to schemes which aimed to weaken the national state's ability and divide it into small ones. El-Sisi noted that combating terrorism cost the state a lot, stressing that Egyptian army is the cornerstone not only for Egypt but also for the whole region. Moreover, President el-Sisi stressed that terrorist organizations rely on the latest technological means to reach their members. It's worth mentioning that 1,600 participants, mainly youth, attended this youth conference edition from different sectors nationwide. The conference comprises 3 sessions, most notably Ask the President session, where President el-Sisi answers the questions from the public. The 7th edition of the National Youth Conference was attended by 1,500 participants and was held in the new capital. The event hosted the commencement of the first class of the African Presidential Leadership Program. The National Youth Conference was first launched in October 2016 in Cairo, with subsequent editions held in various governorates including Sinai and Aswan.
Right, welcome back. That is all for our coverage for this hour. Stay tuned for more of the coverages coming in the upcoming hours, and stay tuned for Ask the President session, which will be taking place just in few hours. Let's thank you for now, and we'll be back with more of our coverages.